Greetings. You have your ticket? Oh, you don't have one? No problem, my friend. Just hit the subscription button below and come on in. Hello, everyone. DFG here, Gideon's Flight. Hey, guys, I just wanted to take a moment and bring up something that's extremely important on the 51st anniversary of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. For those of us who know a little bit about Dr. King, and I suspect many of us know this particular thing about King, and that was his sacrifice and his willingness to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. In other words, his stance against injustice. And it's ironic on this particular day that I was just reading in the Wall Street Journal and many other media outlets now are reporting on this, but it was talking about the prison situation in the state of Alabama. Alabama has 13 prisons and has 16,000 prisoners in their prisons. Alabama prisons are ranked the #1 prison system of murder in the United States. And it's so bad that it's 10 times worse than the next prison, the murder rate alone in the state of Alabama, in Alabama's prisons. If you remember, the former Attorney General Jeff Sessions was from that area. Also, if you remember when Jeff Sessions and the Trump administration were talking about prison reforms, they kind of were using Alabama more or less as a model in terms of how engaged should the federal Department of Justice, or the Department of Justice, Federal Department of Justice, how engaged or involved should they be inside of prisons in terms of the condition of the prisons. And their attitude was more or less a hands off, let the prison take care of themselves. Well, let me give you a statistic here, a stat, very important stat. Alabama is 64% white, prison population 42%. Alabama is 26% black, prison population 54%. 67% white, 42% prison population. That's the state versus the prison. 26% black, but 54% prison population. The conditions in each prison are so bad that one prison has 800 inmates and they have 11 prison guards in staff. That's guards and staff at any given shift. 11 staff on any given shift. That's guards and supervisors, if you can believe that. Supervising 800 prisoners. There are examples in the article that I read, guys, where you got, prisoners who's doing, I guess, their own little sentries over, the watching the prison cell doors, and they got other prisoners inside of these cells beating the shit out of a prisoner. Other situations where prisoners are being attacked with socks, with locks, with padlocks inside of the socks, beating the shit out of them. Again, other situations where the rape is so bad inside of the prisons that pretty much there is nothing that you can do. If you cannot defend yourself in these prisons, and someone decides they want to violate you as a man, you are going to be raped. And the prison officials know about this. The governor, Ivy, she knows about it. And all of them are standing there saying, we don't know what to do. We need more money. And what really pisses me off about this, and is that, again, obviously as a copper color Native American, so-called African American, I know that there are many men and women in these prison systems that look just like me. And I have to ask myself a critical question. How can, all of these political figures, talking about the Obamas of the world, the Cory Bookers, Kamala Harris, Al Sharptons, Jesse Jacksons, all of these activists go down to Alabama, they go over to the Edmund Peters Bridge, and they do all this mocking of the March on Montgomery, and yet they have done not a damn thing about the abuse that's going on in Alabama's prisons. As a matter of fact, the investigative team that were in there said that it is such crude and unusual punishment that is a direct violation of the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. I mean, guys, they said they're finding maggots in the food, rats in the food. I mean, there's a picture of a blade. It looked like a damn machete that they took away from one of the prisoners inside of this prison. And I bring up these officials, especially these officials, people of color. I'm a proponent of reparations. I am absolutely a proponent of, fair and just treatment of people of color, in this land. And most of you guys, if you listen to my video, you already know that I don't buy into the, we all came from Africa bullshit. We all did not come from Africa. Less than 4% of our ancestors came from Africa. The rest were already here. And most of them look just like me, not like Elizabeth Warren. Just for the record. And with this kind of movement around reparations and, and fair and just treatment, how can we turn our back on our brothers and sisters who are incarcerated when they're being treated worse than slaves? I understand that the 13th Amendment didn't end slavery for some. The few that did not, but not the few, those that the 13th Amendment did not protect was those who were incarcerated. It says that in the 13th Amendment. You've seen it. If you haven't, you need to go back and read it. Those, only ones who are free, you're free unless you commit a crime. Now, I know some of you guys will say, well, they shouldn't have, they do the crime, you do the time. I get that. I have no problem with incarcerating those who have violated and who have done things that, require, I guess I'll say in a nice little way, some time out time. But how many people that we know are in these prisons that are innocent? I mean, time after time after time, we're finding out that people were incarcerated, especially people of color, for no reason at all. Some police officer, some rotten liar lied on them, and then they get convicted or taking these plea bargains because their defense attorneys are telling them, well, this judge, he's pretty harsh, she's pretty harsh, so you may want to plea bargain and just take this, this little slap on the wrist compared to what you'll really get. So take these 5 years, because if you get convicted, you'll get 25 years. I want to say Fruitville Station was about that. The movie where Regina King, I think, was nominated and won an Oscar for, I think, Best Supporting Actress. One of you guys can correct me on that. But my point is, a lot of these people are innocent there. And for us to be, ignoring that, especially Alabamians. I mean, how can you live in the state of Alabama and not know this is going on in the prison systems, especially if you're a person of color? Now, again, if you're white, I mean, you're 42% of it, so I think you should have a problem with it as well. I think you should also be out there saying, hell no. You're not going to be raping and murdering and beating the shit out of my family members. I don't care if they did something wrong or not. They're in prison. That's their punishment. They shouldn't have to go to prison and then be treated like dogs. Excuse me, because we don't treat dogs inhumane. I don't know. What, roaches maybe? Vermins? Maybe? These are human beings with no voice. And Governor Ivey, you should be ashamed of yourself. But not only Governor Ivey, all of these states, all of these cities where these prisons are located, they have mayors. They have council people. Where are you guys? The citizenry, the people who voted for Ivey, who voted for your mayors in Alabama. Where are your people? Where are the people in Montgomery? The people in Selma? The people in Birmingham? Well, men and women died, for voting rights acts and different things like that in your cities. Where are you? What are you doing? Pick up a paper and learn something. Go find out. Those of us who are spiritually minded, those of us who believe in the Creator, as you know, Yahweh is the name. It tells us that one of the things that we're responsible to is to visit those who are imprisoned, to look after those who are in prison. Even if you're fast, you're supposed to be fasting, to free those who are incarcerated. That's supposed to be a part of your prayer. All right? Especially when it comes down to the way they're treated. It doesn't ask you to pray them out of jail. It asks you to pray that they may be, treated fairly. That they may be treated with some form of justice and equity as human beings. Hell, any one of us could get falsely accused of something or just make a poor decision and get incarcerated. So how are you going to turn your back and just not give a damn? America, America, America. We're more concerned about people kneeling at a football game, or more concerned people not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the very thing that we really should be patriotic to, the treatment of the citizens of this country, we look the other way. There's a quote I love. And it talks about the behavior of most people. It says that they swallow a camel and they strain on a gnat. In other words, we have our priorities wrong. We're majoring in the minors, as they say. On behalf of the prisoners, on behalf of, the institution that went into Alabama, on behalf of mainstream media one time getting it right, I say thank you guys. Now, they've done their part by exposing the atrocities in the prison system in the state of Alabama. Now, what you gonna do? Thank you for listening. DFG. Guys, go check out this stuff, man. You can find it just Google up Alabama state prisons, Alabama prisons. It's all over, the mainstream media news, but you're probably not gonna hear this on Fox, CNN, and its corrupt brothers and sisters. News stations I'm talking about. Love you. Goodbye.